Welcome back, boys and ghouls. This is Sarah Stephenson, and this is my assistant, Michael Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And so you guys are well aware, this is Boys and Ghouls Film Review, and we're here to review our latest movies today. So tonight we will be reviewing Needful Things that was released in 1993. And if you haven't paid attention, this is a Stephen King movie.
Well,
another one that we should...
Well, yes, it was based on a Stephen King novel of the same name.
Yeah, but...
And the novel was actually written in 1991, so it didn't take long for it to get to the silver screen, did it?
Yeah, it just took a few years to get there.
Well, the book was released, and probably from the day the book was released, they thought, "Well, this is good," and someone started drawing the script.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, here we go. Produced by Jack Cummings. Now, directed by Fraser Heston.
He's the son of Charlton Heston.
And when did he have his filming debut? His first acting job?
Well, you good of you to ask, Mike. But I mentioned this a while back when we were doing the 10 Commandments, and Charlton Heston's kid's debut was when he was, say, a couple of months old, and he was playing the baby Moses.
Baby Moses in the Bulrushes. And his first acting job, I wonder if he got paid for it.
I don't know, maybe.
He couldn't sign a contract.
I don't know, maybe. But I guess the money would have gone to either his dad, and when he got to a certain age or something, he would give it to him eventually.
He didn't have any words to speak, but he was a cute little child. But he only had a bit role, you know.
Yeah, so moving on.
Anyway, a screenplay by W.D. Reiter, I think is the right pronunciation. Richter. But anyway, irrespective. I'm going to use irrespective occasionally. Now, a budget, I got no idea. I couldn't find anything on budget. However, it only box office at 15 million. So, from what I've seen, it may have broken even. I couldn't tell you offhand. No.
Do you think it went directly to television, if that's the case?
No. But budget's a budget.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe it went to TV. I didn't notice. But no, normally if it's box office, it's actually going to a theatre.
I guess.
Yeah, but there's nothing on budget, so I don't know how much it costs to put it together.
And as we all know, this is based off a Stephen King novel, as I said.
Of the same name.
Of the same name.
Okay, here we go. There's quite a few actors in, obviously, but the main ones, from my perspective, Max von Sydow plays Leyland Gaunt, a stranger who comes to this town. Well, more on him later. Okay. He's been in quite a few movies over the years. He never plays a nice guy.
Who
He
wants
plays
that?
a Nazi or something nasty or horrible or a suspect guy. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot more fun playing a bad guy. Ask
Yes, it is,
anyone
actually.
out there which would you prefer, playing the good guy or playing the bad guy?
I must admit, if I was going to be in a movie right now, apart from playing Jabba the Hutt, because I've got a weight problem, if I was a bit skinnier, I'd rather play something like a Michael Myers or a Jason Voorhees or something or other, and just go around terrorise the neighbourhood. That'd be so much fun. Clean, wholesome fun for everybody, folks. Now,
yes. Moving on.
The next moving right along, Ed Harris plays Sheriff Alan Pangborn. I think that's the right pronunciation of it. He's a good guy who's all-American boy type guy. You know, or actually, I'd say a bit of like a jaded policeman from the big city who's going to a country town to get away from all the bullshit.
You swear.
Well, that's what he said. He got sick of all the crap going on in the big city, so he went to a country town where he wouldn't have to worry about too many things happening. Boy, was he wrong.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone had their own grudges in a small town like Castle Rock. This is another movie that takes place, or the story takes place in Castle Rock.
And I believe it's a fictitious place. If it's not, who would move there?
Yeah.
So many nasty things happen.
Yeah, and two other books from Stephen King's collection, apart from The Dead Zone, which we reviewed last time.
Yes, we did, yeah.
The other two stories that took place in Castle Rock would be The Dark Half and Cujo.
Oh, big puppy dog one.
The one with the dog with rabies.
Woof, woof.
Woof.
Okay, moving right along. Bonnie Bedella plays Polly Chalmers, and she's a bit of a charmeress. She's Ed Harris, or Sarah from Pangborn's
Love interest.
girlfriend, love interest, whatever you want to call her. Actually, during the early part of the movie, he gives her an engagement ring, so he's intended. How's that?
Yes, he will.
Now, here's another one. Amanda Plummer plays Netita Cobb, Nettie to her friends. And we found out...
She is actually Christopher Plummer's daughter.
Yeah, it was all in the family, folks, hey? Now, I wasn't going to mention this guy, but he's worth a mention because he's got an interesting role. His name's J.T. Walsh. He plays Danforth Keaton III, but everyone calls him Buster because his last name is Keaton. Buster Keaton. And he doesn't like being called Buster for obvious reasons.
And every time someone says it, he gets
really annoyed.
uptight.
So I reckon since he was a child at school, he was called Buster Keaton, and it's just, and being a small town, it never goes away, does it, folks?
Mm-hmm.
I won't go on about anybody else.
Interesting thing, guys. This was made by the the company called the Castle Rock Entertainment, which has done many film projects and TV shows as far as I can see, but it has done several of Stephen King's works.
You wonder if he's got an interest in Castle Rock Productions?
Maybe.
Well, he made up the name.
Actually, according to one of the guys, producers in charge, he got inspired by one of Stephen King's books. So he kind of used dear old Stephen King's location name for a new entertainment.
Why
group.
not? All above board and everything else.
Okay.
Yada yada yada.
So, shall I dive into the movie?
I can't think of anything I want to say before Sarah starts relating the story to everybody. You might as well jump into it, kiddo. Yeah.
So the story begins where we see an unknown force arriving in the sky, and then it suddenly transforms into a we then fade in on a car, a black...
it looks like a old Mercedes. Very nice. I wouldn't mind having one.
Yeah, old car and all that stuff. And it arrives at Castle, Rock. And all of a sudden, we then flash to the main street, and this town hears about a new shop that's opening called Needful Things.
Wonder what that's going to be selling.
And of course the ad doesn't tell you very much. Of course, the first victim of the
first customer stroke victim
turns out to be a boy, say 9-year-old, and he wanted
he wasn't 9, he was about 12.
9 or 12-year-old, and he wanted a baseball card that he and his dad collected and all that stuff.
He had all his baseball cards, but the one he couldn't get was a Babe Ruth baseball card, and they're very expensive and you can't get them easily. But,
of course, he gives him a good deal, like half the price.
Oh, he doesn't give it for a couple of cents, but he wants to get up to mischief.
Yeah, and he of course says will ask for a favor from him eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, meanwhile, all of this is happening. Alan, the local sheriff, he's trying to keep things in order and all that stuff. And he just proposed to his nice girlfriend / love interest, who also has arthritis, which plays a very key part to the story.
It's about arthritis in the hands. And I can sympathise. I got osteo myself, so painful.
Sad, that is. Yeah, anyway, he gives her a ring and says that they'll be a happy pair. Eventually, things begin to heat up with the townsfolk when they start entering Needful Things. Some people...
They kept going. All the people got drawn into this store, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the ones who went to the store came out with a different perception on life and living in the country town. That's the best way to put it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just 5 minutes of word with dear old what's his name again?
Mr. Gaunt.
Mr. Gaunt, and he then gives you he usually slips of the tongue, says something that gives the this person the chance to cause a bit of trouble. And which he does. I mean, it turns out he causes trouble with two ladies. One's a bit of a grungy, probably penny, doesn't have a penny to her name type grunger type woman,
Grungy.
and another woman who supposedly may have killed her husband, but it's made out that he attacked her and all that stuff.
I believe the nice lady in the cafe, her husband attacked her, and she killed him in self-defense. And the other lady is a redneck woman who hates everybody and a chip on her shoulder.
Yeah.
And she's got in for this lady and a pet dog, which is a beautiful dog.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure what kind of dog it is.
Big black one.
I guess it's a Rottweiler, I think.
Could be a Rottweiler. I don't know. It's a
Anyway,
big dog.
doesn't
Big
matter.
black dog, really cute.
Anyway, while they're getting into each other's face, my little boy, he starts his first barrel of mischief by, I guess, starting off pelting, what do they call them again? Those birds?
Turkeys?
The turkey turds onto their washing.
His deal with Mr. Gaunt, his younger boy, was to go there, get a bucket full of crap from the birdie poo, and throw it over the lady's washing, and she's going to think maybe somebody else did it, and the plot will thicken. Actually, I just go a bit of a check. It wasn't a Babe Ruth baseball card; it was a Mickey Mantle card.
Yeah, Mickey
for you
Mantle,
baseball
sorry,
fans,
folks. So, and then this starts causing some distress between the ladies, and the other lady. She even goes to the mayor's. Is it the mayor? Yeah, I think it's the mayor.
Yeah, I think it's the mayor.
Yeah, and spreads and put posts all over his house, bits and pieces saying he's a total liar, a cheat.
No, he wasn't the mayor. He was a boat salesman.
Okay, boat salesman / whatever, mayor, whatever.
But he had things written on that piece of paper from.
I think he's the mayor because he had the money from the town that was being made.
No, he had his fingers in the pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think he was actually the mayor. I think he might have been on the council and he had access to the money, yeah.
So he had access to the money and he's been spending it on horse racing, no less. And Alan is aware of this and he decides to keep it quiet for the sake not to be a nasty guy, but he's just trying to avoid a scandal or something.
Exactly.
He's not being disrespectful. Although Polly gets wind of this from Mr.
Gaunt.
Mr. Gaunt, and he's been putting the moves on her. Don't ask me why.
Well, he hasn't been putting the moves on her. Later on he does.
Yes, true. Anyway, she then sees Alan with the man, and she assumes that the worst of Alan, obviously.
She thinks he's in collusion with him, I believe.
Yes, anyway, while this is happening, the boy comes back to the redneck's house and she pelts a lot of apples into their windows and into their television, their whatever's breakable.
Whatever the apples sit on the other side got broken, has it?
Yeah. Eventually, he heads off and then she comes home and she's angry and
straight away she thinks the other lady did it.
And meanwhile, the other lady, while she was doing the desecrating someone else's reputation, she eventually someone else does the same to her by killing her dog. Yeah. See, it wasn't. I guess he's a tramp who wants to relive his days, and he ended up getting a special letter jacket from.
When he was in high school, whatever, he had a nice leather jacket, and he said the best period of my time that day, and hadn't have a jacket. He just had that in the window of the store, and he got it for a meager price plus a favour or two.
So he killed her dog, and she thinks it's the redneck who did it, and she heads to her house, and they begin a knife fight.
Yeah, hatchets and knives, and in the end they both kill each other.
Yeah, eventually they fall out of a window, and one is impaled with
The carving knife.
and the other one is stabbed in the chest. Or whatever.
And a meat cleaver in the head, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
meat cleaver.
Whatever. One had a meat cleaver in it, and the other one had a carving knife.
And of course, the little boy he's actually upset, and he wants to tell Alan, the sheriff, and which he nearly does. He tells him about how he's been having nightmares and horrible dreams about probably feeling guilty about this, and probably and
who wouldn't?
And
he's a nice little boy.
Yeah, and he was about to shoot himself, but luckily enough, Alan was able to get the gun out of his hands.
But he did wound himself. He did end up in hospital, though, I believe.
Yeah,
that's why Alan was upset. He couldn't quite save him.
Yeah,
so he did hurt himself.
Yeah, in the original book, the boy really did shoot himself in front of his probably his brother, and the studio didn't want to have a kid or a minor getting killed off.
No, that would be very nice.
This is one of the many reasons why we don't see any kids getting killed in movies.
You know.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving right along.
So he tries to piece together what's been happening, and he feels like he's coming up with zero explanations for
But he thinks
why.
but you got a gut feeling something's not quite right for all the people in the town. Just people aren't behaving rationally anymore.
Yeah, like everyone is acting odd.
There's a Roman Catholic priest and there's a Baptist minister.
Yeah.
And they would be
At odds.
tolerant at each other. And they got to the stage where they were very hateful and and they got to the stage. They were wanting to do each other bodily harm, So things were changing.
Yeah, eventually, Polly gets her own little present where it's a special charm that allows her arthritis to disappear.
Yeah, but she had to leave this charm on all the time. Mm-hmm.
And it's another horrible price to pay. She kind of got to seduce her.
He seduced her. That was part of it. Look, you didn't see it, but he looked like he's going in for the kill, and then you did a cutaway, cut another scene. So,
but you could tell right away it was heading to that direction.
Yeah, so he did.
Yeah. So meanwhile, while this is happening, she then eventually goes to Alan's house, and his houseboat.
Houseboat, yeah.
And she sees lots of dollars
did
in
Mr.
envelopes.
Gaunt or someone phone her or someone?
Yeah, telling her that he's been.
He was embezzling money from the council with the other guy.
Yeah. She then phones Alan. Alan phones her after he gets to the No, actually, he phones her, and he tells him that you've been softening up the money from our council, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, just like the other guy. Yeah, just as bad as he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she removes her ring and just puts it on the table. And dear old Alan feels that there's definitely something wrong here.
Yeah, he'd never seen this money before in his life. What money? And he goes to his houseboat. She's not there.
And the money's right on.
The money's there. He's never seen it before. And the engagement ring is sitting there.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, it's sad.
Sad.
Anyway, moving on. So he then heads to the church and talks to the priest there. He has a gift from
Mr. Gaunt.
Mr. Gaunt again. Sorry, I keep forgetting his name.
It looks like a nice old cup, like a chalice.
Yeah. He got it from the same Needful Things, along with anything else. And of course, it turns out he's very protective of it, and Alan tells him that this is what's you've been causing all your pain. That these guys are so protective of your things, these horrible things. And
he's starting to twig that everyone who goes to Mr. Gaunt's shop and interacts with him is being affected by him some way or other. He's starting to twig now.
Yeah. Eventually, he even asks him, "Is there a devil?" and if he's here in Castle Rock, and. Of course, the guy there, he says that it's not him's fault, it's the other Baptist priest's fault.
Yeah, the Baptist minister's fault. He's a devil.
Yeah, then I think the the mayor or whatever. I'm just going to call him the mayor, considering he's working as a council member.
Well,
whatever.
okay, let's call him the mayor, but he wasn't the mayor.
Okay.
They didn't
Anyway,
mention he was
he
the mayor.
kills his wife, and he acts all stupid and nasty, especially when he's gambling and drunk.
Yeah,
and stuff.
he was a drunkard and he was a gambler. I think he's more of a gambler.
Yeah,
That's
and
why
those
he's in
little
trouble.
notes that were left by Nettie, the lady,
All over his house.
were actually they were all written by Mr. Norris, who was a deputy working for Alan.
Let's talk about. She actually had a notebook from the police station. However,
Yeah.
Like when they write out a ticket, like a citation, whatever, and it was all signed by this Norris guy, Norris, the deputy, and his name was on all these things put through Buster's house. So he thinks the police deputy, the deputy, is after him and trying to give him a hard time.
Yeah, and anyway, he ended up taking some dynamite, which Mr. Gaunt gave him, and he then starts to blow up the church.
He blew up the church, or part of it.
Yeah, and then this is the priest then completely losing his mind, thinks it's the Baptist minister's fault.
So he goes off there to kill the Baptist minister.
And then a whole hell breaks loose. The whole town is in an uproar. And everyone's running around. Everyone is driving into each other's cars. And Alan is the only one completely daffed out by all this violence.
And he sees Mr. Gaunt just standing there in his veranda watching everybody.
Yeah.
with a sort of a smirky smile on his face.
Yeah, of course, he tries to break up both the priests, and he takes out his guns, and of course, Mr. Gaunt encouraged him to shoot one of them.
Shoot him, yeah.
Eventually, Alan raises the gun over everyone's heads, and bam, a few bullets into the air.
Empties his magazine and his pistol.
He then
he gets their attention that way too.
He then gets their attention, and he then finally tells them that since the past few days we've become mortal enemies, and now we're at each other's throats. We never were like this before since Needful Things.
Yeah, and he sort of started asking questions like, what did Mr. Gaunt ask you to do? Listen to a girl.
Yeah.
And he said, she asked me to do so-and-so. Then somebody else said, he asked me to do so-and-so. And it went on a little bit like...
a confession.
A little bit like Jesus when Mary Magdalene was being stoned. What are your sins?
Yeah, so
why are these people after you? And everyone confessed to something.
Yeah, everyone. It seemed that Mr. Gaunt has been in each of his victims' ears, telling them to do a small prank or just or something really bad, and which turned the tables on the other person and making them think it's another person.
Everybody hated each other and they're prepared to kill each other off.
Yeah, and now that they realise this. Meanwhile, the mayor, he then takes out some a rifle and shoots Alan in the shoulder. I think it was, the shoulder. I think
so. Yeah.
And before that happens, Polly realizes that this is all true. That everyone's been manipulated by Mr. Gaunt, and so she removes the necklace and throws it on the ground.
And her arthritis comes back. Oh.
Yeah, but I imagine it's not worth it. It's not worth giving away your soul just to feel better.
That's what's implied. Because
they're selling their souls to make them feel they need this stuff.
It appears that Mr. Gaunt's actually a demon who's out there doing the rounds of different country towns and stuff. Yeah. He's been around for a millennia or two.
Yeah, it seems. That's another thing. Alan sneaked into his building and found some articles that date back to many years.
Old newspapers,
including to the present, where it detailed the murder of those two ladies that killed each other.
Yeah, which only just happened. So he's okay. He's a collector. Of souls. Anyway,
back to the mayor. He then attempts to kill every one of those people on the street, but he gets talked out of it by Alan eventually.
And then Buster comes to realisation that Mr. Gaunt's manipulated them all the time.
Yeah, manipulate everyone. He eventually calls him that name, Buster, and he then dives after Mr. Gaunt, and bam, the whole Needful Things is blown to, well,
Well,
just blown to shit.
He tackles
pieces.
Mr. Gaunt. They fall through the window. The dynamite goes off while they're both in the shop. Now that would have been an expensive prop.
Yeah.
They blew it up.
Yeah. I'm more concerned about the stuff around the place.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, the place is gone and everyone is relieved that the store's gone.
Oh, good. And all of a sudden,
But then
out of the fire...
Mr. Gaunt appears and says, not my best work. I should go. Not my best days.
Yes,
you know.
obviously Mr. Buster Keaton guy, he's dead.
Yeah, and
there's a bit of him over there.
Yeah, he then approaches Alan and says that him and Paul will make Polly will be a good couple, and they will have a bunch of kids and a nice family. And when he's their grandson, he will become.
Well, no, all he says is in 2053.
Yeah.
He will encounter his grandson.
Yeah, and
then he's implying that he's got more work to do in the area when he comes back.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway, somehow in the movie, I think that Mr. Gaunt was aware that Alan. He probably knew him from a previous existence,
or his family line, or something, or reincarnation.
Or maybe,
chance,
but then again, he kind of talks to all of them like he knows them.
A couple of them,
and he knows of their passions, their desires, and stuff like that. Well, and every single item.
A good salesman does.
Yeah. Anyway, he then eventually his car comes up and he drives out of Castle Rock and drives out and leaves the town completely, and
rides off in the sunset,
leaving them with an uncertain future ahead of them.
And a lot of apologising to do.
Yeah, I like to think that they all the next morning would have apologised to one another for their behaviour.
So, yeah.
Like I meant, I do.
I really didn't mean to try to shoot you and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that everyone started to realise that the truth, what they've been becoming.
Yeah, I mean, some people shot each other and different things. I mean, but that guy killed the dog who was a drunkard, got a shotgun, and he went to the bar he keeps getting thrown out of, and to shoot the barman who keeps throwing him out. Then the barman gets a shotgun out and they both shoot each other at the same time. And I mean, how do you apologise for that one?
No, I don't think you can.
Yeah.
One thing I do hope is that the souls that Mr. Gaunt collected, I hope that they were set free. I know that in the book it said they were set free eventually.
Well, his spell was broken, possibly.
Possibly.
But maybe, perchance, I'd like to think that if they were manipulated and they had no real control, see, it opens up that theological question. We have a choice. So did he just plant the seed and we just did what we wanted to do? Or did he manipulate the people into doing so? Like Mr. Buster Keaton guy, he just got totally out of control. I think he was manipulated.
Very.
So, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, there was a lot of different takes and different stories. I like to think that Mr. Gaunt, he was all over the place. Like, if he was been talking to every one of those people, whether or not he was in the cafe, 1 minute, the next minute he's next to you telling you go off and do this prank for me so you can have this thing all you want, all that stuff. Like I meant though, I did thought that Alan's girlfriend should not have used her, should have not just had an affair with him.
She did not have an affair with the man. He seduced her.
Okay, he seduced her. But
an affair would imply it was a willing thing.
I get
seduced her.
And Mike was just saying to me the other night when we were watching this movie, he mentioned something really professionally interesting.
What did I say?
You said that if he and her had a sexual encounter, obviously, then it doesn't imply that maybe that one of their children will turn out to be his.
Well, their firstborn might be Mr. Gaunt's child, and he begets the child, who will be the grandchild, who he's going to meet in 2053.
Yeah, he said something about making headlines. What does that tell you, folks?
He's a mover and shaker.
Unless, I like to think that maybe Bob, Alan's grandson, may fight back just like Alan did.
Well, no, we don't know.
That's
Maybe he even can't tell the future totally. He just knows Bob's going to be born.
Yeah.
He got plans for him. A bit like Damien and the Omen and stuff, But he was more like Devil's Spawn, that one. But and the devil knew what was going on with him. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I do think this is an interesting one. The one reason I like about this movie, it deals with a stranger coming to town, and he builds a store and with magical objects, even though they're not magical. They're just mostly allow your.
Oh, I think they're a catalyst.
What do you mean?
Well, you look at something, I want that, and then use your want and desire for that item, so he can manipulate you and get into your subconscious, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. The items probably don't have any power themselves, but use that as a way in.
Yeah, one of the items I should mention was a Treasure Island book
written by Robert Louis Stephenson and
autographed
signed
by him. And the interesting thing the Treasure Island, this was a reference to Francis Hastings' previous production, Treasure Island, that was released in 1990, and this was starred Charlton Heston, his own father. So this is a bit of a reference, in this movie. There's a lot of references. There's a lot of references to both Francis' past and not to mention the lady who's Mrs. Plummer's father, no less, in this movie.
Christopher,
there's references all over the place here and there. I think that it's because I think it was all Francis's idea.
Well, it could have been. Who knows?
Maybe he was close to the Plumbers. I don't know.
Close to the plumbers, the carpenters, electricians.
But you know what I mean, Mike. They may have been. Both of them were kids.
Well, it could
that
be
relate
no,
to
irrespective of being kids or anything, you got to look at another thing too. If they all live in the same area, let's say Hollywood Hills or something rather, or wherever they live, they could have grown up together, same high schools or parties, families would have known each other, So they would have hung out together. So, like people normally hang out for like people. People in the film industry and their kids would get to know each other. Anyway, reception.
What's it like?
Needful Things received generally negative reviews from the critics.
Oh, F.
No, wait a minute. But there's not a lot of information either. No. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 31%.
Okay.
With no comments.
No comments,
No,
huh?
it doesn't say we thought it was a crappy movie. No. Nothing, no.
All right, what about the other ones?
Some crowd called Cinema Score gave an average rating of B- on an A+ to an F scale, so it wasn't that bad necessarily. Roger Ebert, he's from Chicago, I can't remember where he's from, gave it 1.5 out of 4 stars, and he says only has one note, which it plays over and over, sort of a satanic water torture. It's not funny, and it's not scary, and it's all sort of depressing. So who said it was an action movie?
Beats the
Who
heck
said
out
it
of me.
was it's a horror movie. It doesn't have to be full of drama. It doesn't have to be full of action and stuff. And
I don't know what these people want.
It's a good story. Stephen King writes a good book, and this one became a fairly good movie. I wouldn't say it's top of the pile, but it's not a bad movie. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty interesting, especially the fact that it deals with a stranger coming to town, and like so many movies and books we read and watch, sometimes there's a stranger coming to town. You don't know whether they're good or bad. Like, for instance, Clint Eastwood, he's a stranger. We don't know his identity.
He comes over.
He comes over in good and the bad and the ugly.
He comes in, shoots people, goes home. Yeah.
The interesting thing is we don't know enough about him, and we don't know his name, his character's name.
Yeah, actually, well, that's in the first movie, For a Fistful of Dollars. We saw it the other night, didn't we? Yeah, and he came in town, drifting in, and he played two families against each other. When it was finished, he left. He made a few dollars, but he gave it away. Nice fellow, wasn't he? But no one, his name wasn't mentioned. No one knew where he came from. No one knew where he went.
Exactly.
That was it. So no backstory, no nothing.
Yeah. Anyway, and
wait a minute.
What?
One last. Janet Maslin, the film and literary critic for the New York Times, gave the resounding negative review, saying that though this is by no means the grisliest or most witless film made from one of Mr. King's horrific fantasies, it can lay claim to being one of the most unpleasant.
Brother, some people in their heads, I'll never know.
And honestly, if you don't, these critics, if you don't like that sort of story, it doesn't mean it's a bad story.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, some people have a different set of opinions out there. And
if you grew up on Disney movies, okay, I'm not knocking Disney Studios, but when I was a kid, they used to have all these family movies. None of the movies were there to offend anybody or muck around their minds. They were good, clean, wholesome fun. Now, you take somebody who grew up in those and threw them into something like Nightmare on Elm Street and showed them that movie. What would they think straight away? Horrible, nasty, scary movie. Now, most of it, I enjoy it. I like nasty, horrible, scary movies. But a person who grew up in a sheltered environment would think it's either a really horrible movie or I don't like it, it's disgusting and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So,
most people I've ever associate with, they don't like watching horror movies. Yeah,
but the point is, there's good horror movies. And I don't like some horror movies which don't really have a good story. There's a lot of... Okay, I'm not bagging any movies, so I won't mention any names. But there's a lot of slasher movies that come out. There's no real storyline to it. They base the fact on a group of people go to a haunted house or an old hospital or an old prison or go camping, and some guy who is believed to be dead goes around, terrorises people, cuts them up into pieces. They're all the same. There's no real good storyline. Now, like Jason Voorhees has a storyline.
True.
We know he was a kid who died up there, or supposedly died up there. We don't really know whether he's dead or a demon or what he is now.
I think I forgot. When was the last time I've... he was...
He's indestructible. I'd say, don't know what happened to him. He supposedly died, he could have been burnt, he could have been killed, he was drowned. I don't know. But he's always there.
Yes.
But it's a storyline, there's a backstory, and each story for each movie is a story. But some movies don't have a storyline, and that's what annoys me.
Yeah, I just get annoyed that these people who review them don't give us a really well received version of a review. They just
I don't like that sort of movie.
I just don't like it because
review.
it's I don't like horror. That's not a review. That's just someone's set opinions.
I don't like horror movies, so I'm going to rate this crappo. Not a good reviewer.
I do like the fact that everyone was implicated in the store in some way or another. Like each one of them bought something and each one got manipulated into doing a prank, and that prank
escalated into mayhem.
Well,
exactly right. So it developed. It went from warm and fluffy little town to a hell town. People killing each other and hating and blah, blah.
It was just luckily how Alan steps in and tries to...
He broke the spell.
Yeah. I think that according to the book, Mr. Gaunt, he saw Alan as his arch enemy, and he saw him as possibly his downfall.
He was. He couldn't corrupt him.
Yeah, because Alan didn't. He said in when he entered the store, he had everything he needed.
Yeah, he had a good job. He had his house he lived on. He
had a love interest.
A love interest,
whom he proposed to and maybe get married to.
He had everything he wanted. he wasn't.
He didn't. He
He
had everything
wasn't
he needed.
unhappy with his life. Everybody must have had some little niggly bit in the back there saying, "If only I could," or "Only if I had," or something. And he knew this, and he played on it.
Yeah, he played on their innocent wants, wants and
Gratification
needs,
sort of stuff. Yeah.
or what they thought they need, but which they didn't.
Yeah, who knows? But we're all a bit like that, aren't we? Mm-hmm. Now, if I could make a wish or get somebody who can manipulate things for me,
They go there.
I would like to be healthier. I'd like to be thinner. I'd like to get rid of my osteoarthritis. I'd like to get more hair. What else? A bit more money wouldn't go astray. And, yeah, but who's going to do that in the real world? So it's a movie. It's good.
Let's not
a bit
go
like
there.
Monkey Paw, isn't it? Monkey's Paw.
Anyway, as I was saying about this movie, it makes me think of a number of different other movies and TV shows where they deal with a magical store that comes into your neighborhood and it starts stirring up trouble for the neighbors. What?
And disappears maybe later on.
Yeah, maybe, or something.
Yeah. Well, remember when I told you, I don't know whether it's in Twilight Zone or something else, there was a kid who went to a magic store. He told his dad about a magic store. He did, there's no magic store there, and they went down there and they found a magic store. Then the kid went in there and he disappeared in a magic box. And the father came back looking for him, and the shop didn't exist.
Yeah, and another one which dealt with I think would have been called the Friday the 13th. It was a TV series. Don't mistake it for the
Movies.
Jason Voorhees movies. It's nothing related to that, but I imagine that it doesn't really matter.
Just borrowed the name.
They borrowed the name. That's the end of the story for that. But it deals with a bunch, two kids or two adults who inherit an antique store with a lot of knickknacks, and they sell them all of them, and they realize these knickknacks had a bit of a evil devil power involved,
and their job became to get them back.
Yeah.
So you actually really you haven't seen Warehouse 13?
Not yet, anyway.
No, Warehouse 13 had something like that. They were like Area 51 or something. Who knows? A special warehouse which has been in existence in one incarnation or another. This is 13, but there was a warehouse 1 years ago back in thousands years ago.
Sounds a little bit like the librarian.
A bit like librarian, but a bit different. But they went out there and said, "Oh, there's an artifact out there which is creating this. This gives somebody superpowers or creates bad weather conditions or earthquakes. They have to go and find these artifacts and bring them back and lock them up so no one can use them." So same sort of thing, I gather.
Yeah, it is interesting. A store that has magical artifacts, and it's either up to our protagonists to try to get them back in order to save humanity, stuff like that.
Lovely.
It's not,
everyone needs a hobby, hey.
It's an awesome TV series. We just got it yesterday, so we're going to check it out eventually.
I cannot lie. I downloaded it. Only reason why I downloaded it, I couldn't find a copy anywhere. Okay.
So it can be on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Well, yeah, but YouTube usually is compressed so much sometimes there it's not worth watching on YouTube.
And most of the time, those ones are taken from videotapes.
Yeah,
and
they're grungy.
And they've been reused because of
they're just about poor condition. And, well, the ones I downloaded are much better. I think they must be on VHS tape as well. That's crap.
Anyway, so as I was saying, I
don't always do that.
I do think it's an awesome concept, the idea of a magical store, and these things could be corrupted and very dangerous, and either the heroes have to try to destroy the store or try to find the items and destroy them, or sometimes it's an interesting concept. It has been reused over and over.
But the idea of a mystical stranger coming to a town and changing people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's good movies too which do that. Remember The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Good family movie. A little Chinese guy brings a mystical circus, carnival, whatever, to a small western town, and he changes the people in the town for the better.
Yeah, there's another movie which was done by Disney, but it was taken from a book, obviously.
Which was that one?
It was called something wicked
This
way
way
comes.
comes.
Nothing
Yeah.
to be familiar with Shakespeare's
No,
story or anything like that.
It played a role. It was James Brolin. No,
I
can't
haven't
remember.
reviewed it yet,
I
but
can't remember that.
I know for a fact it's another Disney mistake that went into the vault and disappeared from the world.
It missed the mark a little bit.
Because, again, this one was a horror drama type movie.
Yeah, it wasn't horrific enough to make it interesting,
and it wasn't
kiddie enough.
And it wasn't comedy enough to please masses.
So they just did this. I mean, no one makes every movie perfect.
True.
I mean, Disney over the years has probably churned out more successful films than anybody else because they normally know their mark. When they try to experiment or deviate and are not totally committed to the project properly or don't get the balance right, then that sort of falls apart. And I think that one and that one day Something in the Forest,
Watcher in the Woods.
Yeah, that one there, that fell over too because they didn't commit one way or the other. That was all like, I'll sit on the fence here and I'll see what happens.
So anyway, as we're saying, the Something Wicked This Way Comes deals with another carnival, and it deals with the carnival host who was dabbling in granting their wishes, but for a horrible price, stealing their souls. Yada yada yada.
That movie we saw last year wasn't the Goosebumps one or something or other? Or no. Not Goosebumps.
I think you're thinking of
Midnight.
I think you're thinking of
the top hat guy.
I know who you're talking about. I'm trying to remember the name. Okay, it's called Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That's the one. Yeah. And the Midnight Story Club or something or other, or
Midnight Society.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. And the kids sit around and tell stories, and the school made up a story about Top Hat.
Yeah.
It was the ringleader guy. And he was a mystical type guy too,
and he dabbled with souls and stealing children.
Yeah. So, and she was dreaming about it, made up a story, and it came true. And we found out later on she'd come across this before. And
I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to get. I haven't got around to watching the new miniseries that came out.
What's that one?
Of Are You Afraid of the Dark? It came out not too long ago, but I'm trying to find a good copy of it to watch. But I've been running through snags at the moment.
Oh, well, we'll find.
I mean, we can't seem to download it anywhere. I watched the first episode, but again, I can't. One episode doesn't exactly help you understand the story.
So you can't find YouTube or anything.
No, it's not. It's only one episode, allows the viewer to watch the rest when it came out. I'm baffled.
It would be nice to get a couple of them.
It would be great to watch it also. I can
go and buy it or something.
It would be great to watch that and tell you guys about it. Yeah. Honestly. So you guys know a bit of what it's about.
Anyway. We've been talking long enough.
Yeah. There was that other movie. I think it's called Vampire Circus that dealt with mysterious people.
Was that the Hammer one?
Yeah. That one dealt with a mysterious group of people.
And they were stealing kids or something, wasn't it?
They were stealing children.
Yeah.
That's another one that dealt with that sort of thing.
That was good.
It was always. It's always interesting when you do with the writers and the filmmakers. They often use something familiar, something you think would not be scary. Something innocent, like a store or carnival, and you think nothing will ever be frightening about this until...
Beware of the clown.
And then something drastic happens, and it changes your perspective on it.
Yeah, don't trust clowns.
Again, I won't review that one in a while because it's far off. Yeah. But I will eventually review those movies we mentioned one of these days.
Eventually.
Yes. Anyway, should we review this one? I mean, not review. I mean,
vote on it.
Vote on it. How many?
Whatever. Look, it's a good movie. I would like to have seen. I wouldn't say that. It flowed okay, but I think honestly there was too much going on.
I was looking curious about how that Polly lady, the girl that liked Alan, whether or not I know that they look like she reconciled with him eventually, and they would go on to have kids together and then get married.
Well, Demon said they'd have kids. Now, you make a lovely couple.
But things look like they were very shaken up after what's been happened.
Yeah.
What I
was I going to say? I was doing my
Go
thing.
on.
I think they put too much in it. They could have left a few things out of the book, and and worked on developing some of the other parts to make it more intense. They just had too many things. Try and say, oh, we'll do that, we'll do that, we'll do that. And I think they had too many things going on. That kid over there, and that person over there, and that person over there, and that person over there. And that, I mean, I think got too many happening, and I think that...
Yeah, I see what you mean.
The flow could have been better.
But it was... Yeah. The kid was the first victim, obviously, and that's when it started... That started the ball rolling, as you put it, Mike.
It was just bouncing to... It's not like when you see a lot of skits together in a show, but they don't actually fit together. And some of the scenes, let's go here, whack, let's go there, whack, let's go there, whack. And it's sort of, to me, it was going too quick and there's too much going on, which I think took away from storyline. Yeah. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, just so you guys know who planted the money on Alan's boat, it was actually the Baptist priest who did it.
Yeah, he did it because Mr. Gordon told him to.
Yeah. Making him saying sorry for doing this to you, all that stuff, realizing...
I did it.
Yeah, even though it's not funny, it's not a good joke. Well, no. When you think about it. It's kind of manipulating when you think about it.
I know. Anyway, that's all. We've finished that bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll give it a 9 only because, I mean, it's a good movie, but it loses that one point... at one point because the storyline was a little bit too jumpy aroundy for me. I mean, some people probably wouldn't mind it, but if you're trying to copy a book and put it into a screenplay, sometimes you've got to leave some stuff out. Now, when George Lucas made Star Wars, he took a section out of the middle of the book and made a movie. He didn't try to jam the whole of the movie book into one movie. No, he wasn't that stupid. He made a very good call. Said, I'll do that couple of chapters right there. And that's what he did. And they could have done that a bit better on this movie. So I'm 9. Still a good movie, don't get me wrong, but 9.
Yeah, I'm going to give this movie 8.5 out of 10.
And why is this? Same reason?
Same reasons. Yeah. I mean, it was crammed, and it was a lot. It was a lot to take in, and I keep trying to figure out how did. I kept wondering what's happening with Alan or one of the other characters.
But you jumped over somewhere else. You're watching him for a while, and then you jump over somebody else. And
when you thought that you knew who was doing the prank, you think for a minute, but then you realise it was someone else.
You're watching 2 different pranks at the same time in some cases. Someone's doing something, someone's doing that, and you find out at 2 different locations happening. And you go, okay, fine. It's not supposed to be mental aerobics. It's supposed to be enjoying the movie. Yeah, so
I did like the music, the old-fashioned music stuff that was thrown in. It was more of a, some orchestra, music hall stuff, right?
Music hall?
No, maybe not music hall. Theatre music stuff?
Whatever.
Where you
classical?
Classical stuff.
But nice orchestral sort of stuff.
Yeah, orchestra music. That was really interesting.
Yes. Anyway, going to wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. We have things to do tonight. So thanks for listening to today's podcast, fellas. And be sure to check out our next podcast when it's released. This is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying, see you guys around. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.